भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। हरि ओम, salutations to all. So Brahma ji replied to Ashwalayana Rishi, Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yogad Avaihi. Through Shraddha Bhakti and Dhyana Yoga, come to know this truth. Now, Shraddha Bhakti and Dhyana Yoga, we saw the detailed meaning. In that Shraddha Bhakti, they are the preparations. Dhyana Yoga is the direct means which will give rise to the intuitive knowledge of the self. Now comes the elaboration of that. What is the means to realize is told, but what is not the means to attain immortality comes now. Na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyage naike amritatvamanshuhu parena nakam nihitam guhayam vibhrajade yadyatayo vishanti. Next one also we can take. Vedanta vijnana sunishchitarthaha sannyasa yogadyataya shuddha sattvaaha te brahma lokeshu para antakale paramritat parimucyanti sarve. So the simple meaning is na karmana na prajaya na dhanena. You should add na there in terms of association. It is not that na is missing in the book, but you have to connect that. That neither by karma, nor by progeny, nor by wealth, one will attain what? Amritatva manashuhu. Amritatva one cannot attain. Then how will one attain? Tyage naike. Only through tyaga. Amritatva manashuhu. Only through tyaga one will attain the supreme state of Kaivalya. What is that supreme state? Parena nakam. It is beyond naka. Beyond naka? Naka we think is our nose. It is not nose. Naka means heaven. Beyond heaven it is. Parena nakam. Acha, beyond heaven, somewhere far away we have to go. No, no, nihitam guhayam, in our heart. Beyond heaven, but in our heart. Vibhrajate, and that state is as though shining in our heart. Yad yatayo vishanti, and these great yatis, they enter that state. So this is the meaning of this mantra. Now let us see the deeper meaning. So these are the three means by which we want to become immortal. Karma, dhana and praja. These three also represent the Eshana Traya. Putra Eshana is Prajaya. Vitta Eshana is Dhanena. And Loka Eshana is Karma. These are three desires that every human being will have. Desire for wealth, desire for progeny, desire for great achievements. So that is in Vedanta called Eshana Traya. But the mantra here says, by these three one will not become immortal. No, Swamiji, we don't want to become immortal through these three. Think about it. Everyone knows that the body is going to perish. But what should continue? Swamiji, my name should continue. Even before the body perishes, name. जाके मेरा नाम बोल दो, काम तुम्हारा हो जाएगा. My name has that power. Bhagwan's name doesn't have any power, but my name has lot of power. That's how we think. क्या राम राम बोलने से ऐसे थोड़ी साक्षात्कार हो जाएगा. So that there Bhagwan name no Shraddha we have. But my name, oh go just tell my name. You don't even need my recommendation letter, just tell my name. So we have a lot of this thing, our name must continue. How will one get that name? Through karma, achievement, success. Oh, this person achieved so much, Generations together people will remember. So through karma, we want to become immortal, meaning body obviously can't be immortal, but the name of that jiva becomes immortal. So through karma, I want immortality. Or through praja. That is most common. What I could not achieve, I want to achieve through my child. Child is my own extension, is the understanding. It is me in another form. But that me in another form, when that me starts rebelling, then one says, this is not my child. If that child does something which is not acceptable, then pata nahi ye kahan se aa gaya. How many parents want to fulfill their ambitions through that child? That child has his own karma, her own karma, they have come. It's very interesting, Animals, they feel emotions, but they are very clear that their young ones will not be with them. They don't have buddhi. Still they are able to handle that better. We can't handle. Our buddhi is there. We are intelligent beings, self-aware, all that. But Swamiji, my child is going away. This last 2 months I have with my child, so I can't attend class, because I promised my child I will spend full time with the child, because, otherwise if the child is then going to America, then I will not meet the child. So, bunk satsang. I love for the child is great. I am not saying anything bad about that, but it happens. Oh, my child is going. Meaning that bird is flying away from the nest, so that much time as much as I can spend, I should spend. They have called, in psychology, they call it, what is it? Empty nest syndrome. Birds and animals and all of these creatures, they are very caring about their children, there is no doubt, but at some point they know if the child goes, it goes. Now what can you do? But we have a lot of attachment with putra. Not only with putra, then putra ka putra also. What is it called in Hindi? Pautra is to we say in Gujarati. Pota. So the grandchild also. And then one wants to see the marriage of that grandchild before one dies. इसका शादी देख लूं स्वामी जी, बस तृप्ति हो जाएगी, बस फिर मैं आराम से मरूंगी. अरे साक्षात्कार करके मरो बाबा. दैट शुड बी द आइडिया कि भाई कब अगला जन्म मिलेगा पता नहीं, ह्यूमन लाइफ साक्षात्कार हो जाए फिर तृप्ति. नहीं, पोते की शादी है स्वामी जी. So through that we want to live. I may die, but my child will live, and through that, then that other child will live. So, immortality. Upanishad says, no, not possible. Not by karma, not by progeny. Do the duty towards all, no problem. But immortality can't be achieved. Na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena. Any amount of wealth one can buy, but one cannot smuggle oneself into that state. Gurudev used to say, underhand, under table treatment does not work with Bhagavan. You can't buy moksha. You can have as much wealth as you want, but moksha you cannot buy. Last minute Bhagavan कुछ setting कर लो, अंदर अपना बीच में adjustment है, मोक्ष दे दो चलो. It will not happen. Na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena. Now, why it is said like this? Because see, each of them, so karma, what is the limitation of karma? First of all, karma by itself is jada vastu. In Upadeshar, we understand that very clearly. Karturajnaya prapyate phalam karma kim param karma tad jadam. It is jada, it doesn't know anything. The result it will give also is very limited. To do that karma, I must have karta bhav. So if I am the karta, I have to be the bhokta. So then again I have to take a new body to experience the karma phala. How will immortality come? And every karma phala gives rise to the seed of the next karma. It is unending. So we want immortality through karma, but karma is the means of bondage. Exact opposite. So he says, no karmana. So that means, should I not do karma? That I can't sit without doing karma. But if I do karma, I am bound. Then what to do? Karma yoga is the only attitude. Do the duty, dedicate to Bhagavan. Existing vasana gets exhausted, new vasana not created. That's it. Then karma becomes a sadhana. It becomes a means. Chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. Then karma becomes a means. Otherwise, karma is a big obstacle. Gurudev was told by Tapon Maharaj, don't go down, you will get caught in the cycle of karma. Those who want the knowledge will come to you. You don't go down, you be here. Is it not his compassion that he came down? He got stuck in karma or not? Not that he got stuck like us, but he was doing or not 20 hours a day work, and he paid the price for it through his health also. 2 attacks he had, and his heart rate, ejection fraction went down so much, diabetes he had. But he created this massive organization. And his condition is very different because he is a Jivan Mukta. We can't live like that. So, na karmana. What we have to do our karma dedicated to Bhagavan. Na dhanena. No amount of wealth. See, through karma we run behind wealth. If karma cannot give mukti, how will wealth give mukti? Why? Karma is the cause. Wealth is the effect. If cause only cannot give mukti, how will effect give mukti? Why this is said, because some people think that any type of karma they can do and then they can purchase punya karma. Punya. By some dhan, some yajna, some havan, some japa, some puja, some sponsorship they can do. And that japa also they will not do. They will make a pandit sit ki hamare liye karo 10 lakh jap baith ke. But this person is not changing the adharmic ways of living. So they think that we can continue the way we are living, but we have got wealth. With that wealth, we will do some lot of dhan and some punya and some, japa and puja. We will become this, that, and that punya will help me. Then I will get mukti. That will not work. Why it will not work? Because where is avidya? Avidya of this supreme reality is in my mind and intellect. Somebody else doing that, how this will go? Vivek Chudamani, that example is there. For your hunger, if somebody else eats food, will it go? How nice if it was like that, But that doesn't work. My hunger, I only have to eliminate. So, if avidya is in my mind, I have to put that effort to come out of that. See, the sadhana that one does or somebody else dedicates it to us and does has some impact. There is no doubt. But one can't depend on that mainly. There are people who are very proud. They say, Swamiji, हमारे घर में पंडित जी आते हैं और हर रोज पूजा करते हैं. Good for the पंडित जी. If you are sitting and Pandit is helping you to do puja, then fabulous for you. No, vibration in the house is good. Very good. Vibration of the house will be nice, there is no doubt. But you have to get that punya. Only when we involve mentally, then only we will get the punya. No? How will we get otherwise? No, Swamiji, Pandit ji हमारे लिए संकल्प करते हैं तो हमको मिलेगा. मिलेगा. Some effect will be there is no doubt. But not that much as it can be when we sit and do. We may not even know correctly to do, but if we sit and do, that will have more effect on us than a pandit doing it exactly correctly. So many people don't do sadhana or puja because they think, nahi, hum galat nahi karna chahte. So that caution is great, no doubt. We should be alert so that we don't make mistakes, so we should learn. That is fabulous. But that should not prevent me from doing sadhana. That मैं नहीं chant कर सकता तो कोई और करेगा मेरे लिए. Bhagavan says, whatever it is you chant to me doesn't matter. At the end we say, no, mantrahinam, kriyahinam, bhaktihinam, sureshwara, yat pujitam maya deva, paripurnam, tadastume, aparada sahasrani, kriyante harnisham maya. We are very funny people. In this chanting, we have made, if we make mistakes or ritual, we make mistakes, so we are desisting from doing. But nishiddha karma, go on doing. That we are not desisting from doing. How contradictory is that? Adharma, nishiddha karma, that though goes on. And then justify that also happily. Saying that, what is the use of Bhagavan's glory and compassion if I don't make a mistake? In Hindi some couplet is there, I forget whatever it is. Nice couplet it is. Which means that it doesn't matter you make mistake, then only Bhagavan can forgive. So Bhagavan's forgiveness comes into play when you make a mistake. That's why he says here, Upanishad says, na dhanena, no amount of wealth will buy it. It's just impossible. What did Bhagavan say in the Gita? Patram, one leaf you offer. Pushpam, one flower. One drop of water. You offer that much is enough. With bhav what you offer. Kannappa, he offered what? He used to offer meat. And he used to fill the water in his mouth because he can't carry water and meat together. So water will be in his mouth and meat he will carry. Offer it to Lord Shiva and do abhishek with his mouth. Bhagavan accepted, and the Brahman was coming and doing pura vidhivat. He did not get darshan of Bhagavan Shivji, but Kannappa Nayanar, he got darshan, and because of Kannappa, this Brahman got darshan. Because Brahman used to sit and watch, who is doing this, who is spoiling this every day? So he sat and watched one day, and he got darshan of Bhagavan. So our effort, our bhav matters more than buying anything else. So na karmana, na dhanena, na prajaya. Children have their own destiny. We can't expect to live through them. And which jiva comes through us also we don't know. Some karmic consequence only that jiva is born. It has to come through us, it will come. So these three are not the means. Na karmana, na prajaya. So praja does not mean only children. Praja means anything which I have created, on which I depend for immortality. That's the larger meaning of the word praja. We get very attached now to our poem, our photographs, our videos, whatever we create, and then we keep looking, oh, so nice, so lovely, so wonderful. Feels nice also, it's good, but it is like that. So whatever we have created, it may be our home, it may be some achievement in the world, it may be whatever it is. Anything that we have created, that is meaning praja. Creator himself got attached to his creation, then what to talk about us? Brahmaji got fascinated by Saraswati Devi. One of the Puranas, that is the story. He wanted to marry Saraswati Devi. Saraswati Devi ran away. She said, what are you doing? So, those stories are to tell us that if Creator can get attached to the creation, who are we? We definitely get attached. The books that we write, and then we get attached to all that. Empire that we create, everything. So, na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena, all these have a place in life, there is no doubt. We have to do karma, karma yoga attitude. We need some dhana for maintenance, even for service in the society or any charity making a difference. Dhana is required. Dhana dharmam tata sukham. So with dhana, dharma can be done, and then one experiences punya and happiness. So dhana also has a place. But for sakshatkar, if I say that dhana will work, that will not work. Na prajaya, na karmana, na dhanena. Children also are required. It is a duty of the grahasthi to carry forward the lineage of the family. So all have their place. This is not a rejection of any of those. But through them, if one feels that I will become immortal, that will not happen. Na amritatva manashuhu. So what is amritatva? Mritatva means death, means change. Amritatva means where there is no death, no change. That changeless state, amritatva. So amritatva manashuhu, it is not attained. Now very interesting is this arrangement, this expression, karma, praja and dhana. So, 4 purusharthas are indicated in the first line. Dhana indicates artha, praja indicates kama, karma indicates the word dharma, and amritatva indicates moksha. So, artha, kama, dharma, moksha, all is indicated in the first line. In that, artha, kama and dharma are not direct means to moksha. They are preparatory means. Like in the Atma Bodh, the example given is, you can prepare a lot of items. So, wash the vegetables, cut them, keep the masala ready, keep any other additional paneer and this and that, everything, keep it ready. But the main means of cooking is what? Fire. Pakasya vanniva jnanam vina moksho na siddhyati. Until that fire is not lit, even if all the ingredients are there, one mixes it, dish will not get prepared. Fire is a direct means. So artha and kama and dharma are a preparatory means, there is no doubt. But Direct means is jnana only. That will come ahead. So tyaga is the word indicated for that direct means. What is the direct means? How will I get Amritattva? I will get Amritattva only through tyaga. So one is artha, kama, dharma, moksha is indicated. Then also na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena, they also indicate these three levels. So dhana indicates adi bhautik level, because we attain wealth in the world outside. Praja indicates adi daivik level. How praja indicates adi daivik level? Because children come through blessings of Ishvara only. It will not happen otherwise. No, Swamiji, biological process, children can happen. Try. That jiva who has to come through that individual, that jiva has some connection, then only will come through that individual. And in that birth of the child itself, the lot of karma is getting exhausted between that mother, father and the parent and the child. No, Swamiji, artificial insemination and what is that called? Surrogacy. Through surrogacy also we can do. But that karma of that parent is not getting exhausted as far as the childbirth is concerned. After the child is born, then they are raising the child. So if the child is born to that parent, it is happening because of karma only. That is why Adi Daivik. Even marriage itself is Adi Daivik. Then what to talk about child? So dhana is Adi Bhautik, praja is Adi Daivik, and karma is Adhyatmik. Because the karma that we do is based on our vasana. Vasana, desire, thoughts and the action. It is Adi Adhyatmik level. Now, he says here, these three will not lead to realization or fulfillment. Tyagena ekena. So three means are given, and contrast to that is one, eka. Only through tyaga. Tyaga means what? Letting go. There is no acquiring, there is only letting go. Tyaga. Why it is not possible to acquire? See, all the other three are acquisition. So karma, praja and dhana, they also indicate pravritti marga. And this tyaga indicates nivritti marga. Because all the three have to be acquired. Fame, glory, etc. is acquired by karma. Dhana is acquired by karma. Progeny is also acquired. All these are acquisition. They are called abhyudaya. Nishreyasa is the path of tyaga. Fulfillment, inner fulfillment. So why is it not possible to acquire realization? Because no matter what we acquire, we will still remain finite only. Infinity is not a product of accumulation. Even mathematically, as many numbers you want to multiply, will it lead to infinity? It can't. As much numbers we add, will it lead to infinity? It won't. How much ever we accumulate, karma, praja, dhana, whatever we accumulate, nothing will lead to realization. Why? Because infinity is our true nature. Infinity cannot be acquired. It is right now there also. It is our nature even right now. That is why only tyaga is the means to realize. The waker has to realize I am the waker only by getting up from the dream. The dream has to be abandoned. The dream character has to wake up. Then only one will realize. Any amount of additions in the dream will not do anything. The waker is waker only. It will not produce the waker. That's why realization is not it is not acquiring. It is not getting. It is letting go of all the obstacles to realization. Realization is naturally there already. And that's why Tyaga is the only means. And Tyaga is required for a lot of things in life. Realization, so definitely Tyaga is required. Because sometimes we feel, oh Swamiji, this is very difficult, Tyaga and all, no, I can't do. Every day we are doing. Sometimes people do in the class also, Tyaga. How? Happily they do Tyaga of the satsang, what they are listening, and they glide into sleep effortlessly. If you want to sleep, you have to do Tyaga. Can you sleep without Tyaga? Think about it. After the night walk, who survived today, you will crash on the bed. You will be exhausted, tired. Any other thought comes, you will say, nothing doing, I'm tired. This Swamiji, I don't know, he's very Rajasic. It's morning 5:30 onwards till night 10 o'clock. He's keeping us on our toes. He's not giving enough time to sleep. अब बहुत हो गया ना, बस आज का खत्म कर, बस I just want to sleep. Your neighbor says, can you just get me some water? I am not getting, you get yourself. I'm going to sleep. Don't trouble me now. So without Tyaga, one can't even sleep. Every day, Bhagwan is so compassionate, I tell you, he gives us two experiences. Every day. One is what will happen at the time of death. One is how to do Tyaga. Our sleep is meant to give us that experience every day, to train us for Tyaga and for death. What will be our state after we die? Exactly what is our state in the dream. We are not aware of the body, but we still are there, no? That. Bhagwan is training every day. But still we are scared. Pata nahi kya hoga. Swamiji, Tyaga is very difficult. Arey, Tyaga only we are doing every night. In the Gita, what did Bhagwan say? Tyagat Shanti Anantaram. And Gurudev used to give a humorous example for Tyaga. He said, if now we will go out now on 28th, full day we will go out. Morning we leave from here. And we have to drive Pong Dam, Masru Temple. Suppose you don't find any loo anywhere till afternoon. Bladder is full now, I have to go. Then what will happen? The moment one finds a loo, Tyaga Shanti Anantaram. Because how much can you hold? You cannot hold. Actually, holding is very difficult. If I have to keep on holding this, what is easy, to hold this or to leave this? Leaving is very easy. But today our mind has got trained in a ulta way. For us, acquisition appears very easy and maintenance appears very easy, but Tyaga is appearing very difficult. No, Swamiji, don't tell me to do Tyaga. No, just 7 days, can you be without tea? I can do anything, but don't tell me to give up tea. Moksha I want, ego I can do Tyaga, but tea I cannot do Tyaga. So we find Tyaga very difficult. But Bhagwan is training every day. Do Tyaga. Vivekananda ji said, I am not remembering exact words, but what he said is, if I have to teach, if I have to what do you call? Means if I have to modify the education system, I will ensure that children learn anasakti and ekagrata, detachment and concentration. Because if the children learn these two things, they are set for life. And none of these two things are taught in our education. Detachment to 100% not taught. Concentration, they will keep telling focus, focus, focus. Techniques. So that detachment is that, indicative of Tyaga. Acquisition, we may learn, but we should learn more the art of letting go. So, Tyage naike amritatva manachu. See, even any great achievement cannot happen without Tyaga. How much people have to sacrifice? These Olympic medals they won, how many months and years of training and what all discipline, sacrifice they have to put themselves through, then only they will achieve. So what is not possible with Tyaga? Great achievements will happen through Tyaga. Sleep will come only through Tyaga. Physical health will happen well only through Tyaga. You get up in the morning, Malatyag doesn't happen, then big problem. So everything we need Tyaga. And we are trained also in that in some ways, but we just not consciously aware of that. Now in this context, what is Tyaga? So, see, the highest level of Tyaga is Tyaga of the Ahankar. But that is not easy to do. So we have to build ourselves up. So first thing to do Tyaga is what? Give up alasya, nidra and pramad. That I have to work on first. To drop or to let go of laziness, indulgence. Indulgence meaning what is enjoyable in normal thing is no problem. But one crosses the limits and exceeds, overdoes it. So moderation one has to come to. So let go of extremities. Let go of laziness. Let go of carelessness. Oh, chalta hai, mein kya farak padta hai. That attitude. And procrastination. And the procrastination is terrible. Mind which has the tendency to procrastinates moksha also. There are some people who will go on procrastinating everything. Not now. Some WhatsApp messages come, no, I don't feel like messaging now, I'll message later. Somebody is calling, I don't feel like taking a call. Why don't you do some work? No, I feel very tired, I will do later. They go on procrastinating everything. So that is the tamoguna aspect. So we have to do the Tyaga from there. If I have laziness, lethargy, carelessness, procrastination, overindulgence, if these qualities are there in the mind, then to achieve this state is not possible at all. So first level of Tyaga is to let go of these things. How will I let go of these things? By ensuring that I have an inspiring goal and I feel for that goal. It may be worldly goal, it may be spiritual goal, whatever it is. Tamoguna can be overcome only with Rajoguna. It cannot be overcome by Sattva Guna by itself. I may know all the harmful effects of laziness, procrastination. Knowledge may be there, but I will still procrastinate. So only Sattva Guna will not work there. Some Rajoguna is required. So first level of Tyaga is Alasya, Pramad, Nidra, all these. Second level of Tyaga is Nishiddha Karma, I have to drop. What is prohibited, I have to drop that. Depending on what stage of life we are in, I am right now talking only of the realization for that. Suppose somebody is a student, then they should do Nishiddha Karma of many things which will distract them. They should do Tyaga of that Nishiddha Karma, which will distract them from study. They should drop bad company because it is not conducive for realizing their goal. Right now I am limiting only to seeker, but you can apply this Tyaga to any type of goal. So Nishiddha Karma, based on our roles, based on our stage of life, what is Nishiddha should be dropped. Like for a Brahmachari, the focus of the Brahmachari has to be on the study, on Ishvara, on Shastra, on the Guru. Not on sense enjoyment. That's why Brahmachari in the earlier days, they used to go away from the house, stay in the Gurukul, so they are away from comfort zone. For a Grahasthi, based on their stage of life, one has to do the Pancha Mahayagnyas, the 5 debts one has to fulfill. That is their duty. And all the other acts, cheating, killing, manipulating, adultery, all those things one has to drop. It is Nishiddha Karma. Telling lies, Nishiddha Karma, all one has to drop. No, Swamiji, everybody is doing, I also have to do. then everybody will face the karma phala, you also face. What else can be done? Wherever we are able to drop, at least we should start with that. See, what happens many times is we straight away think of what is not possible. What is possible, I should start from there. Then what is not possible will also slowly become possible. So Nishiddha karma has to be dropped. First level is Tyaga of Alasya, Pramad, Nidra, all that. Second level, Tyaga of Nishiddha karma. Third level is Tyaga of, as much as one can, the Sakama karma must be transformed into Nishkama karma. So the Tyaga of selfishness. Whatever I do, I should dedicate it to Bhagavan, do it with the attitude of selflessness. What did I give? That must be my attitude, not how much I got. Then that Sakama will become Nishkama. So Tyaga, because karma we cannot stop. Only way we can do is change the attitude, so transform to Sakama, to Nishkam. Then in whatever I am doing, which is my duty, which is Vihita karma, in that I should start dropping the Karta bhav. Earlier we are dropping Nishiddha karma to come to our duty, which is our Niyata karma, obligatory duty. Focus on obligatory duty, let go of the prohibited karma. Transform the Sakama karma into Nishkama karma. Now, what is left is the obligatory duty. Niyata karma is left. That Niyata karma, I should let go of the doership. 4 types of karma: Nishiddha, Kamya, Naimittik and Nitya. So Nishiddha has to be abandoned, Kamya has to be transformed into Sakama, Nitya and Naimittik, and even Kamya at one point, drop the doership in that. Kartritva bhav has to go. I am not the Karta, Bhagavan is the Karta. So if I have done the Sakama to Nishkam by dedication, then Karta bhav will go. Then lastly comes Avidya Tyaga, the renunciation of ignorance. Renunciation meaning letting go of ignorance. Because such a mind which does the Tyaga of Karta bhav, the mind is very light. That mind can contemplate steadily, and through steady contemplation one will burn away the ignorance that I am this Jiva. That is the only method to realize the truth. Tyage naike amritatva mana shuhu. Sorry, one point I missed in between. After the Karta bhav we spoke about is the Tyaga of Vikshepa, wandering of the mind. That will happen through Upasana, Japa, Puja, Bhajan. What we spoke in the morning, what are the 3 steps for Bhakti? 3 steps to develop Bhakti. Sambandh, starts with Sambandh, then Smaran, Sharanagati. That is the foundation for Upasana, is that. So when we do Upasana, then this wandering of the mind we can let go. Finally comes through steady contemplation, Avidya Nivritti. So this is the only method. Tyage naike amritatva mana shuhu. What is that state of amritatva? See, amritatva, many people think it is nectar. So when one does rituals here, then one gets punya, then one goes to heaven, and there one will get amrit to drink, and then life will be immortal. The devatas drink amrit, Samudra Manthan, from there this amrit was, it came out. So in the earlier days, people used to think that and also do rituals to experience that, and Shastra has that method, and that means are given there. If somebody wants to experience it, that is there. It is not that Amrit does not exist, or Devalok does not exist, Swargalok does not exist. It is there. Even now, if one wants, one can experience that. But one should have that much punya to go there, that's all. But Vedanta is not talking about that Amrit. To clarify that, it is said here, Parena Nakam. This Amrit is not that Amrit, it is beyond heaven. Kam means Sukham, happiness. Akam means no happiness, means sorrow. Na akam means no sorrow, which means happiness. स्वामी जी ऐसे खाने के बदले ऐसे क्यों खा रहे हैं? Kam is happiness, akam is sorrow, and na akam is again happiness. So nakam means heaven. Why? Because in heaven there is no sorrow. There is no disease, there is no old age, there is no death. That is the state of heaven. In this Martya Loka, there is all the three: disease, old age, death. Kam means Sukham, happiness. That's why Kapi means one who drinks happiness. Kam Sukham Pibati iti Kapihi. Kapi means monkey. Hanumanji is called Kapi. One who constantly drinks happiness, who revels in happiness. So Kam is Sukham. Akam means no Sukha, means sorrow. And Na Akam becomes Nakam. So Na Akam means no sorrow. The state of absence of sorrow is the heaven. So no old age, no disease, no death. These are causes of sorrow in this world. They are not there. Plus one drinks that Amrit, so one has relative long life. It is not that a person is eternally going to live. Their lifespan is much more than the normal lifespan that we jivas have. So that is relative immortality of the heaven. Here it is said, Parena Nakam. It is beyond this heaven. Where is it? Nihitam Guhayam. It is in one's own heart. So what is this heart now? Guha. So also they say Hridaya Guha, cave of the intellect or the cave of the heart. So Gurudev used to say that when you enter into a cave, above darkness, left side darkness, right side darkness, below darkness, it is enveloped. Darkness is fully there in that cave, everywhere. So the cave of heart is like that, where as though there is a darkness of ignorance. But in that cave of the heart only the self is shining. Vibhrajate. Nihitam guhayam vibhrajate. It is shining. So one meaning of cave is that which is enclosed, where there is darkness, where you can't see clearly. The other meaning of the cave here is one has to turn within. The heart cave, no, it is Hridaya Guha, it is. It is not an external cave. It is the internal cave, heart cave. Today our mind is extrovert, seeking happiness outside. What Vedanta is saying, if you do all these things which are given in the first line, then the mind will turn introvert. And heart is the symbol of the core of our personality. It is not physical heart we are talking about. When we say I, where do we touch? Heart, no? Does anybody say, I am very happy, Swamiji? I am very happy, I am very happy. Nobody touches any of this. When we say I, what does one say? Heart only. So that I, where is the source of that I? That is the heart. Physically, there is one heart which is throbbing, there is no doubt. But the Buddhi Gufa, that is where aham, it is throbbing, it is shining as though. Even when we are asleep in deep sleep, Buddhi is not, functioning actively, mind is dormant, pranas, body, none of this we are aware, but that aham spurana goes on. Ramana Maharshi said, Hridaya Guhara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram Aham Ahamiti Sakshad Atma Rupena Bhati. In the cave of the heart, there is Brahman alone. But Swamiji, my heart I have given to my beloved, nothing doing. You may give your heart to anybody, but Brahman occupies the heart fully. No place for anybody else inside that. Morning, one of you were asking me that Bhagwan's left side is Mother Parvati, but when we do ritual, why does a wife come on the right side? From what I understand, you can ask some other people also, ritualist and all that. From what I understand is, our heart is on the left side. The physical heart is on the left side. So when the husband and wife, they are married, so the husband's left half, meaning his heart is given to the wife. That's why even Bhagwan has on his warm left side, Mother Parvati. But when we are doing ritual, our heart should be given to whom? To Bhagwan only, not to the wife. So wife will come on this side. So that is one reason which I understand. So this, in our heart, there is only Brahman. There is no one else. We think that my heart is given to this, my son and my spouse and this and that. That is some emotional attachment and it comes and it goes. But this aham, 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 that is the core of our personality which is beyond the mind. Our love and emotions, etc. at mental level. This spiritual heart that we are speaking about, where this vibhrajate is said, that is beyond the mind. Vibhrajate. And the yatis enter that. Yad yatayo vishanti. So entering means what? What we are doing in the morning, that. Turn the attention from outside and focus on the self within. That. Because right now we are all extroverted. So to turn within and to continuously contemplate I am that Brahman and to let go of this, that is called entering that. It's not physically entering, there is no place to enter. Brahman is everywhere. But it is realized only in the heart. Though Brahman is all pervasive, we can realize it only in our heart. As what? As the self. Aham, aham, aham. No descriptions to be added to that. That is called vibhrajate. It is shining. So parena nakam nihitam guhayam vibhrajate. Vibhrajate also means it is self-effulgent. Everything else needs a source of illumination. And it is finite. So when we do this arati, what do we chant? Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam. Right? These are sources of illumination. Surya, Chandra, the stars, then the lightning, Vidyut. Each of them will function only because of the grace of Bhagwan. Tameva bhantam. A lot of people chant Tvameva bhantam. It is Tam eva bhantam. So everything else needs the grace of Bhagwan to function, but Bhagwan is self-effulgent. Same way when we apply this to the self. This body, mind, intellect, they don't have their own light. They can't see themselves, can't feel, can't think themselves. Consciousness enlivens it, then they can perceive, feel and think. What makes that consciousness function? Does another consciousness enliven it? It is self-effulgent. Swayam Jyotihi, Chaitanya Swarup. It does not need anything else. So when people ask, Swamiji, how will I know I am realized? How will I know I am realized? How does sun know that its nature is to shine? It is the nature of the sun. We don't need any other means to know we are realized in Chaitanya Swarupatma. We are Chaitanya Swarupatma already. There is no other means required. How does a waker know that he is woken up? Oh Swamiji, that neighbor tells one shot that fellow gives, that time only I realize, oh now I have woken up. Or I ask them, pinch me, is this real? That limitation of example. The waker knows when the moment the dreamer has woken up, one knows I am the waker. Nothing else is required after that. So Vibhrajate means that self-effulgent consciousness. No other consciousness is required to illuminate. How will I know I am realized? When you are realized, this question will not arise. Simplest. Till that question is there, that means I am not realized. As simple as that. Vibhrajate yad yatayo vishanti. This yatis enter that. Now, the next mantra is the description of the yati actually. Who is this yati? Literally, yati means one who is putting effort. Yatnam karoti iti yatihi. And this effort that is being put by this person is the highest effort. But it may seem that this person is doing nothing, just sitting quietly. But greatest effort is happening to let go of the ego and realize that self. That person who lives in self-control and who is putting self-effort is called as a yati. I cannot put self-effort if I don't live in self-control. If I eat anything, talk anything, drink anything, I don't have self-control, then self-effort cannot happen. So yati means that. And so this description of the yati is given more elaborately in this next mantra. So who is this yati? Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitarthaha. First point. Vedanta means the end of the Veda, the essence of the Vedic knowledge. Vedanta. Vijnana means clear understanding of the deeper imports of this Vedanta. Sunishchitarthaha. And they have reflected and arrived at the essence of the Vedantic knowledge, the essence of the entire Vedic knowledge. That is the first quality of the yati given here. So what is the essence of Vedanta? The Mahavakya is the essence of Vedanta. The statement which reveals the identity of Jiva and Brahma is the Mahavakya. That is the essence of Vedanta. One who has understood that not only intellectually, but one who has the bhavana to experience that, that is a yati. It's not an informative knowledge to one may have, but that need not give conviction, and that conviction does not then translate into the intensity of seeking. The purpose of all intellectual study is to give us conviction that yes, there is Brahman and I am that Brahman. That's the job of the manan that we do. So Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitarthaha, first line actually indicates the first two steps of Jnana Sadhana. What are the first two steps of Jnana Sadhana? Shravan and Manan. Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitarthaha indicates Shravan and Manan. They have heard of this knowledge from their teacher and they have reflected upon it, cleared their doubts and arrived at a certain conviction that yes, Brahman is and I am that Brahman. And that intellectual conviction gives them that intensity to then realize Brahman through contemplation. If our study or reflection is not manifesting in the intensity of seeking, that means it is not yet effective. Two problems can be in that. One problem is the earlier sadhanas one has not done. The tyaga, the levels of tyaga we spoke about, that one has not done. So even intellectual information is there, reflection one has done, some clarity has come, but it is not manifesting in action because the mind is not prepared yet. The mind is still having some laziness, lethargy, attachment, selfishness. So Yati is one who has done those earlier sadhanas. So the Shravan and Manan of the Yati is very, very powerful. Again, I am repeating what I have said many times earlier, that a Yati who is already purest in the mind does not need to do Manan also. Will realize immediately. But if in case one has not realized, then Shravan and Manan both, Sunishchitarthaha. And why this is important is because, this Tattvamasi, just I am giving one example. In Vedant, we say Tattvamasi is a statement to indicate non-duality. Because Tat means that, Tvam means thou, Asi means one. So we say that Jiva and Brahma are one, Upadhis are Mithya. This BMI, individual BMI is illusory, total BMI also is illusory, Chaitanya is one, you are that one Chaitanya. Over. Jiva is equal to Brahman. But Dvaita will not say that. The same statement Tattvamasi, Dvaitin will say it does not mean Tattvamasi, it means Tasyatvamasi. Meaning you belong to God. Tasyatvam asi, you belong to God. You and God are not one, you belong to God. You are either a servant of God or you are a part of God. You are not one with God. That's why it is necessary to understand the Mahavakya in the proper context. In the context of the Upanishad, it is Brahma Vidya, it is Aikya, Jiva Brahma Aikya. That's why the word Sunishchitartha is written. That one has to be firmly convinced that no, there is oneness. Essentially, I am one with the divine. That takes time actually. It doesn't happen just like that. But one has to put that effort. There are specific books which are written for Manan and specific books which are written for Nididhyasan. Books like Advait Makarand are for Manan, to reflect. They will clear a lot of doubts. Dakshinamurti Stotram. Dakshinamurti can be used for both Manan and Nididhyasan, but in Manan one can use because lot of the other schools of philosophy are refuted by Shankaracharya ji. So if someone wants clarity about Vedanta, why Vedanta is speaking about essential oneness, and one has that scholarly bent of mind, then what is Nyaya saying, Vaisheshika saying, Sankhya saying, Purvamimamsa, and this Karma Kandis, all that one will read and one will see the refutation of that. Then one gets convinced that yes, 100% Brahman alone is my true nature. Swami, that's a very long process. No, it is, but those who are intellectually oriented, no, for them that is the method. So there are books which are written specifically for Mananam. There are books and compositions which are only for Nididhyasan. Like Nirvana Shatkam is meant for Nididhyasan. Brahma Jnanavali is meant for Nididhyasan. One may use that to do some, reflection. That is a different matter, but it does not give logic. For reflection, one needs logic. That scripture has to give. Why it is said like this? Does Nirvana Shatkam give any logic? It will straight away state the fact. What does it say? Mano buddhi hankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jivve nacha ghrana netre nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. It's statement of fact, straight. 3 lines of rejection, 1 line of assertion. Over. There is no logic. Oh, why am I not mano buddhi hankara and chitta? Why? So I can use that grantha for my reflection. If I have studied other texts, then I have to use that knowledge. But ideally that book is not meant for reflection. It is meant for Nididhyasan. So these yatis, they have studied depending on whatever their temperament is. And they have determined. See, as I said, one is the intellectual path where we go through various schools of philosophy, negate all, establish the glory of Advaita. That is one method. Other method is what was said earlier, no, Shraddha. My guru said, I am Brahman, full stop. I don't need to think more on that now. If that absolute Shraddha is there, then one doesn't need. Then Sunishchitartha has happened not based on Shastra, but it has happened based on Guru's Vakya. Guru said, you are Brahman, so I am Brahman. Over. No two thoughts about it. So, Shravan and Manan. First line indicates that. Then, Sannyasa Yogat. Sannyasa Yoga is the Nididhyasan. How? You know, if you read Gurudev's commentary, he has written very nicely. In the third para, at the end, he has written, attuning the mind with the concept of the highest reality and thus heaving the mind from the world of dissipation is yoga. Thus, this beautiful phrase, detachment through attachment, Samnyasa Yoga, has been coined in the Upanishadic literature. It's an oxymoron, detachment through attachment. How does that happen? Detachment through attachment. Detach from the lower and attach to the higher. That is called Samnyasa and Yoga. Sannyasa means to renounce, Yoga means to unite. So that process of rejecting who I am not, asserting who I am, that is called Nididhyasan. So these are the three steps of Jnana Sadhana. Vedanta, Vijnana, Sunishchitarthaha is Shravan and Manan. Sannyasa Yogat is Nididhyasan. This is the main sadhana of the Yati. And this sadhana will lead that person to realization. Yatayaha Shuddha Sattvaha, those who have purified their mind. Please remember, this is Shuddha Sattva. This is not Sattva Guna only. Shuddha Sattva means Rajas and Tamas is just absolutely bare minimum. That mind only can contemplate steadily. If Rajoguna and Tamoguna is there, that Rajoguna will make the mind wander, Tamoguna will make the mind sleep. So contemplation won't be steady. This person has done already those earlier sadhanas, so Shuddha Sattvaha, then they are able to do this Jnana Sadhana. What will happen to these people who are doing this steady contemplation, this listening, reflection, contemplation? Te Brahmalokeshu Paranta Kale. At the end, Paranta Kale. Now this Anta does not mean death of the body in this context first. The primary meaning of Anta here is death of ego. So through steady contemplation, when this BMI attachment goes, I drop this ego, the end of the ego in the state of contemplation is Paranta Kale. Paranta Kale, if the ego ends, then what is their experience? Brahma Lokeshu. Oh, they will go to Brahma Lok. See, the word Loka, Gurudev is to say, Loka means a field of experience. It is not necessarily only a geographical place. So if a conference of scientists is there, then that is the world of scientists, where all their minds have met. So Loka means that common field of experience where all of these people are coming together and exchanging scientific knowledge. Same way, Brahma Loka is the experience of the mind that I am Brahman. So through steady contemplation, when the ego is dropped, then a person realizes Brahman. Brahma Lokeshu Paranta Kale. And Paramritat Parimuchyanti Sarve. And what do they gain? The highest immortality. Paramritat. Meaning beyond that immortality of the Devatas. The supreme realization they get and they revel in that. Parimuchyanti. And parimuchyanti also means, much means to drop. Parimuchyanti means they have dropped all bondage, attachments, avidya, everything. Completely renounced everything. The jiva bhav, everything gone. Then they realize the Supreme. Paramritat parimuchyanti sarve. Sarve means these type of yatis. Shuddha sattvaha, they all are in plural. Yatayaha was said earlier. In this mantra only, yatayaha. Meaning, these yatis is in plural. So all these yatis, they renounce everything through contemplation, the attachment to the OET, PFT, BMI, Vasana, everything renounced. And they realize the self. Brahman they experience. Suppose while doing this sadhana, they could not realize the self. For some reason the prarabdha karma ended and this body dropped. Then what happens to these Mahatmas? They don't have vasanas for this world. They have not realized the self yet. So the second meaning of Paranta Kale is dropping of the body. And Brahmaloka then in that context, before realizing if they have dropped the body and they don't have those vasanas to come back, they go to Brahmaloka. The highest loka. In the 14 worlds, the highest is Brahmaloka. And there they enjoy the peace, the quietude, the subtlety of that Brahmaloka. And Brahmaji gives them knowledge at the time of Pralay. And they get mukti. That is called Krama Mukti. So this one shloka indicates both the types of mukti that Vedanta speaks about. One is Jivan Mukti, liberated while living here. Other is Krama Mukti, gradual liberation. Jivan Mukti is here and now, through steady contemplation, these vasanas have got exhausted, avidya burnt, realization happened. Then that person is, after that experience of Jivan Mukti, rest of the life one lives as a Jivan Mukta only, and then body drops at some point. But if suppose they didn't realize, then does all the effort go for a waste? No, nothing goes for a waste. Not only for them, even for all of us. No spiritual effort will ever go for a waste. And other point is, we should not waste time as a human being. Because when the next human birth comes, we don't know. So if we feel that, oh, I have nothing more left to experience, I have seen everything in the world, then ask, did I experience the truth? Obviously, if the truth is not experienced, then I have to put all the efforts, because that desireless mind is the means to realize. Then turn within. Now don't wait that now everything I have seen, now I am waiting for death to come. Hello. If you have seen everything, you will have enough vairagya. Now what to do? Turn to that. And before this body drops, realize the truth. Go beyond the cycle of birth and death. Don't wait. Here next janma I will do sadhana. When that next janma will come, when human life and which satsang, which is the guru, who knows? When already one human birth is there, one should realize. You know, Muchkund Raja. Muchkund Raja, you know, in Bhagavatam the story comes. That Muchkund Raja, he helped the Devatas. And, to win the war against the Asuras, Muchkund Raja helped the Devatas. And the Devatas were very pleased with him. So the Devatas asked him, what do you want? He said, I want liberation. Means I want Brahma Gyan, you give me Brahma Gyan. Devata said that is beyond our pay grade, we can't give. We ourselves are deluded jiva, how we will give? So Muchkund Raja said, okay, that I understand. Now, can you tell me when I will die? Devata said, that we can tell you. Yamaraj is he is one Devata only, I will tell you. They asked Yamaraj. He said 1 hour. You have 1 hour. That Muchkund Raja, he sat down, detached himself completely from the BMI, realized the truth in that 1 hour's time. That Muchkund Raja story is inspiring to say that never ever give up hope. Do the sadhana till the last minute. Even in the Gita, Bhagavan said or not? In the second chapter in Sthita Prajna Lakshana, he said, Antakalepi sthitvasyam Brahma Nirvanam Richati. Even just before you die, if you get established in that, you will realize that Supreme. So one should never ever stop that Purusharth. See, what happens sometimes is we are fed up with the worldly things. That's all. Real Vairagya may not have come, but that opportunity can be used to turn. If I've seen enough, I have no interest in the world, then consciously I can turn the mind and intellect to that. If it is not possible to get Jivan Mukti, then Krama Mukti may happen by Ishwar Ichha, then we should leave it to Bhagwan. But we should strive for what? Jivan Mukti. Don't say, Swamiji, we have 2 options. Upanishad gave 2 options. I chose second option. I don't want Jivan Mukti. I am choosing Krama Mukti. How do we know we don't have any other vasana, that we will go straight to Brahmalok and we will not come to this world? Do we know that? We don't know only. Best is to keep striving for Jivan Mukti till the last minute. No, Swamiji, Sanskrit and all, I can't remember. Don't give stupid excuses. You don't need to know Sanskrit to realize Brahman. The one Mahavakya is enough. Aham Brahmasmi Tattvamasi, and understand Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitartha. That's all it is. Sannyasa Yoga Dyataya Shuddha Sattva. Now, this is a beautiful mantra that we saw. And why is this chanted when Purna Kumbha is done? You now see, the entire path of spiritual evolution is given in this. And who is this Yati? This Yati is the one who is striving like this. And the Yati also has to remind himself, na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena. And especially Yatis like us, we have to continuously tell ourselves, because we are stuck in karma, praja and dhana only. Or Swamiji, you are also stuck? Only scale is different, that's all. Karma we are doing. You are seeing me whole day slogging like anything. Karma we are doing. Dhana, fundraising, we keep on chasing you. Ye project hai, wo hai, ye hai. And praja. Gurudev used to say, I don't have one child, I have hundreds of children, all children in the world. They are my children. So what to do now? That compassion is there for the, put the samskar in the children. So if a grahasti has one, the sannyasi has many. So when Purna Kumbha is chanted, it is to remind us also that, hello, don't get stuck in karma, praja and dhana. Only tyaga. Tyaga alone will take us there. So it is a reminder to the sannyasi also. And it is the whole path, spiritual knowledge. And one remembers continuously. The one who has already experienced Purnata, that person to anyway doesn't need. Then for that person it becomes a stuti. Like if we do Purna Kumbha for Gurudev, Gurudev does not need any of this. Then it is the stuti that here is such a great yati, may I have the blessing of that yati. So for masters like him, it becomes a stuti. For seekers like us, it is sadhana, to keep telling ourselves. And for those who are holding it as the grahasthi, at some point they will have to let go of this attachment to dhana, karma, praja and take up either external renunciation if possible and if required. Otherwise, definitely internal renunciation. So that is where we will stop. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.